Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I've got a hilarious story straight from the trenches of IT that perfectly captures the chaos of office life. So grab your coffee and let's dive into a day that started like any other, but quickly spiraled into a battle of wills. It all began on a chilly Monday morning. I was just finishing up my usual rounds, dealing with the typical user error calls. You know, the classic, have you tried turning it on and off again? Kind of stuff. But then, like a dark cloud looming over my day, I got the call every IT person dreads. The printer is down. Now, if you've ever worked in an office, you know printers have a special talent for causing headaches. I bundled up, grabbed my tools, and made my way to the far corner of the campus where the printer disaster was unfolding. Upon arrival, I was greeted by a panicked employee who declared, "Everything is terrible, and we need this printer now." Here's the kicker. Only 3 out of the usual 12 people were even in the office that day. And wouldn't you know it, this department had more printers than they had employees. In fact, there were 2 extra just sitting there, waiting for someone to use them. But no, the one that was broken was apparently the only printer that mattered. I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. I cleaned the printer, changed the rollers, checked the settings, you name it. But no matter what I did, it just wouldn't cooperate. Paper kept crimpling and jamming like it was auditioning for a horror movie. After battling with it for what felt like an eternity, I had to break the bad news. I'm going to have to replace it. Cue the dramatic sighs and gasps. You'd think I just told her the office was closing down for good. I trudged back to the shop, prepared the replacement printer, and set it up to work seamlessly with the network. But here's where the real fun began. As I returned to the office, ready to save the day, I discovered an unexpected roadblock. The Ethernet cable had mysteriously fallen behind a heavy 6-foot filing cabinet. I peeked behind it, but there was no way I could reach the cable or move the cabinet without a team of bodybuilders. I explained the situation to the employee, and you could almost see the steam rising from her ears. But that's the only printer we use. We need it up and running now. I took a deep breath and calmly told her, I can set up your computer to print to one of the other printers today, and I'll bring in a special tool tomorrow to retrieve the cable. No problem. But she wasn't having it. Who do I call to move this cabinet today? She demanded. I shrugged. Well, that would be property management, but their turnaround time is usually 24 hours unless it's an actual emergency. They're off on weekends too. At this point, she insisted we call them right away. And that's when I had a light bulb moment. I pulled out my phone, called property management, and put them on speaker. I managed to catch one of the guys just before he was about to clock out for the day. Yeah, we'll get to it Tuesday. There has to be at least 2 of us to move that cabinet, he said, typing away as I could hear the sounds of his keyboard clacking and a few colorful expletives. I couldn't help but stifle a chuckle. I knew the PM guy was more than capable of plugging in that cable himself, but I played along. So can I just plug that thing in? He responded. Yeah, unless you really want IT there, but I'm off Mondays and Tuesdays, so it might have to be Wednesday. I glanced over at the employee, whose face was a mix of shock and disbelief. She looked like someone who just got hit with a ton of bricks. Okay, we're fine. Tuesday before noon unless an emergency pops up, the PM guy concluded, hanging up. I turned to the user, a smirk creeping on my face. Well, that works for us in IT. I'll remove the old printer. Thank you for your patience. And once property management confirms everything is done, a tech will come by to check that the new printer is working properly. Back at the shop, I shared the story with my coworker, and we had a good laugh over the absurdity of it all. I called the PM guy again and decided to cancel the ticket. I'll bring my grabber tool tomorrow and take care of it myself, I said. He chuckled and replied, You know, if I cancel, it'll trigger an email to her since her name is on the ticket, right? I just shrugged, knowing I was going to solve the issue without any extra hassle. The next day, I waltzed back into the office, armed with my little grabber tool. I maneuvered it behind the cabinet, and success! I secured the Ethernet cable and plugged it into the printer. No gremlins messed with it overnight. I wrapped up the ticket and was finally able to close it out, feeling a sense of victory wash over me. So, the moral of the story? Sometimes when you try to rush things, you might just end up waiting longer. But if you can keep your cool and find a workaround, you'll be the one who walks away laughing. Have you ever faced a similar situation at work? Let me know in the comments below.